It's That Popular Podcast. Mitch Prinstein is a psychology professor at UNC Chapel Hill and the former chief science officer at the American Psychological Association. Aaron Keck is a political scientist and award-winning radio host. Together, they discuss the popular and not so popular quirks of human behavior. Welcome into That Popular Podcast. Now, here's Mitch and Aaron.
Welcome into our podcast. I'm Aaron. This is Mitch. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing good. What's up?
It has been a little crazy.
It has been a little crazy. We were talking before we started. We were recording this in the immediate aftermath of a massive flood that washed out a decent chunk of our town.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of people around the area who are displaced, out of business, and it's like right across the street from us right now.
And not something that you spend a lot of. We didn't talk about flooding every day like we thought we were in some big flood zone, but then bam, it's happening right here in our own community. It's so weird.
Anyway, fun times.
Yeah, so we're watching some reality TV. That is a good thing in the summer to totally turn your mind off. And it's always
I was wondering what the segue was.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you want to turn your mind off, here's the way to do it.
I mean, it's oh my God, what a perfect time just to completely, especially when it's 1,000 degrees outside and you want to move as little, even neurons firing is too much heat generating in the body. Like,
this is why everyone in March of 2020 specifically watched Tiger King. Like everyone just beeline towards the most mindless, stupid show.
Right. And especially these days with everything going on, I want something that uses no parts of my brain. But
exactly.
But so here's the thing that's shocking. People meet each other. Within less than a day, they are weeping over this is the person I am closest to in the world. And what if they get voted out? And like, you just met each other like 2 hours ago. Like, how is this your best friend in life?
Right.
Yeah, very weird. I don't know if you're...
Which reality show are you watching? Because now I'm curious.
All right, guilty pleasure, we do watch Big Brother.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fun. There's a little bit of psychology to kind of watch in there and see what's going on. And it's very predictable pattern. You know, there's always so the whole like thing growing up with the jocks and the brains and everything like that, like this exists in real life too.
Right.
But in that little pressure cooker microcosm, like you absolutely see those groups form again all over.
I'm curious as to how much, and there's got to be like a percentage of and a percentage of and a percentage of how much of the activity in a show like Big Brother, Survivor, Real World, Bachelor, Love, like any of those, how much of that is the people actually feeling what they're portraying? How much of it is them like knowing how to play the game of getting on TV and just acting out the role? And how much of it is we select people because they just act out the role naturally anyway, right?
Yeah, that is an interesting question, because I will say there are some people that I think if this is you trying to put on a game playing face, you kind of suck at it. Like, this is terrible. You should not be behaving this way ever in life, especially like completely emotionally dysregulated, completely making bad choices, you know. Yep. And then there are people that I think are really, really shrewd and know what they're doing. They're very self-aware to monitor their own behavior. And then when they get in like the diary room or whatever, you know, you start hearing a little bit of what they're going through. But oh my God, if we taught emotional regulation in every kindergarten classroom, we would have a completely different society.
Yes.
And reality TV would be far less fun. Yeah.
So how does this translate to psychology? How do we go from there to here? You know,
one of the things that was really interesting kind of watching it this summer, you know, recently is that whole idea of people just immediately becoming fast friends.
Yes.
And it does make you think a little bit about, you know, how does friendship work? Because, okay, so actually we know this scientifically how friendship works, but this is one of the most complicated relationships that we have. And it might not feel that way like our romantic relationships usually feel, but romantic relationships kind of have labels and a course. And, you know, for some people, you can actually create a legal way of demarcating exactly what that relationship is.
Right.
We have kind of some laws around what's okay and not okay and grounds for ending the relationship.
Yep.
We don't have any of that for friendship.
Yeah.
So like there's no point at which you're like, okay, what are we calling our friendship now? Have we officially moved from acquaintances to friends? And when do we get to say we're best friends?
Right.
And we're not signing a paper and initialing in the corner to be like, okay, we're entering a friendship contract.
Right. And on the rare occasions when we do, it's usually bad, because that's when you're going to work with your friends, right? Like, oh, we're best friends. Let's go into business together. And that works like 5% of the time.
Maybe you want that contract and you want to initial, but like, no, No, it's actually one of our most complicated relationships.
Interesting, yeah.
Because when do you know what level friendship you're in?
Mm-hmm.
How much of our time do we spend kind of surprised that somebody is acting in a way that's like, oh, you think we're friends to that level? 'Cause,
Yeah.
like helping you move kind of friends? Because that's a whole different category.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And you've really got to suss it out, right? Like there's no rule, there's no anything. It's just like how you feel versus how they feel, and like trying to compromise and reach like an equilibrium, right?
And we don't even have language for it, right?
Yeah.
So like, how do you, it was funny, like during the pandemic, we had friends that we were hanging out with, and then we had to be like, oh, should we be like in each other's pod?
Yeah.
And it was so relieving to have like a way of saying like, we're each other's best couple friends, right? Like, can we just say that like we would prefer to hang out with each other than other couples at this point? Like, because otherwise there was no way to like say, are we like we're buying each other friendship bracelets kind of situation. Like that doesn't happen in real life, you know?
Absolutely should have though.
I know, exactly. Well, so, all right. So in science, like there actually is a way that we go through this. And it's kind of interesting because in some ways it takes away some of the mysteries. So now all of this is like so science geeky in the way we think about it, but like stay with me for a sec here. So first of all, at the most basic level, friendships are supposed to be bilateral and mutual and reciprocal, which is all to say that if I consider you my friend, then you should be considering me your friend at the same time. And right off the bat, like how many relationships have you had where people seem to be treating you as maybe one of their really close friends and you're like, oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Like I'm so pleased that I'm that for you, but no offense, but I've never thought of you as being that for me.
Right.
Like,
And it's proximity too. Like I've got a friend who lives in Michigan who we are very, very good friends.
Yeah.
We see each other almost never because we're 4 states away. So whenever I'm up there, whenever she's down here, we make it a point to see each other, but it's infrequent.
Yeah.
So whenever and she's very online, so she frequently posts on social media. She will occasionally talk to me and tell me, oh, you're my best friend. And I always feel kind of bad about that because if I'm your best friend, we only see each other like 3 times a year.
Yep.
Simultaneously, she will also say the same thing on social media about other people. And at that point, I get jealous because I'm like, well, I'm sitting right over here. I'm watching this. I'm reading this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you bring up, so that's another one of the pieces. And this piece has gotten blown away in the last 20 years with social media because companionship is thought to be one of those ingredients, right? But that's really different. So, among some people, companionship is one of the top things that makes you a friend. Among other people, it doesn't matter. If you have intimacy, emotional intimacy, which is another one of those criteria.
Yep.
And there's somewhat of a trade-off of like, I can hang out with you all day long. We have zero emotional intimacy, but we could like play a game of basketball, or we could play video games sitting next to each other, grunting and not actually communicating at all. Like, and other people are like, we never see each other, but we send the most explicit sharing of secrets texts.
Yep.
And then with social media, obviously, like these could be people you've never even met.
Oh, yeah. And even prior to social media, my husband, Brad, his oldest friend, like his longest consistent friend, is someone that he met in high school, which would have been in like the mid 90s, and met her on an online message board. He was in North Carolina. She was in Massachusetts. They moved all over the place in the 20 years since, never crossed paths except online, did not meet each other until a few years ago.
Yeah.
For the first time in real life,
How
after
did that
having
go?
a relationship, it went amazing. They immediately like started picking right up where they left off in their previous conversation, and then they walked away, leaving me and her husband to just be like, hi, I'm Aaron. I'm
right. I mean, it's so funny. So in research, we call those online only friends.
Yep.
And some people report that the level of emotional intimacy they have with someone they've never met in actual 3 dimensions, for decades, maybe,
Yeah.
they are just as close, if not closer to, than the people that they see every single day. So it's
Yep,
like
yep.
a real thing. We probably want to honor and respect when those things happen. We want to make sure it's actually the person who says that they are, and it's not like a weird predator if it's like a child in this situation.
Of course, right.
But like those are real things. So
If
now,
someone's pretending to be someone else for 20 years, they're
Right.
playing the long game at that
that's true.
point.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's a good point. Yeah. So now companionship is suddenly not the same kind of a friendship. And this is really interesting because some of this breaks down on very traditional gender stereotypes. And some of those are, let's just say, traditional and they don't hold. And we don't want to perpetuate that. But,
Right.
but for what it's worth, like, you can have a long-term friendship with just companionship traditionally among males a lot longer than among many females. Females are not like, well, we just kind of hang.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we don't talk about anything. Most females will kind of say, that doesn't do it for me as a friend.
Yep.
So there's some differences there, but then you start getting into all these other pieces, right? And in a way, at least for me, I categorize my friends based on these other dimensions. Like, and you can serve a role in my life, and I could serve one for you if you meet some but not all criteria, and that's okay. So there's support, or what we call reliable alliance. Like, I've got your back, you've got my back.
Yep.
That's equal.
Yeah.
I've got your back as much as you have my back.
Yep.
And that sometimes doesn't always happen, right? And I'm going to be there for support. It might be emotional support. It might be tangible support. I'm going to help you move. It might be just, I'm going to show up at your house and check it out when you're away and there's a flood and you want to make sure it didn't affect your house. But that's a piece of it. And you know something? There are people in our lives that we feel really close to, but you can't count on them.
Right.
To actually be there, have your back. And it's like, we have a blast together and you're the last person that I would call.
But you're a little bit of a train wreck, and that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you're so into yourself or into something else that I'm probably not going to call you in that situation. But boy, do we have fun when we hang out.
100%.
And that's kind of interesting that we can have friends that are so different on those dimensions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I can think of people that we have traveled across states just to see that if we lived next door to each other, I would not necessarily ask them to feed my cat.
Yeah, right.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So then we start talking about friendships under nurturance or esteem support is sometimes the way it's talked about as well. Does this person help you feel good about yourself? Now, that's really interesting because we have friends that are all about teasing one another.
Right.
And teasing's really interesting because sometimes teasing's like, oh my God, right. Like, you're the last person that would be cool in that way. And then we have this whole, what we call an off-record marker, which is, just kidding.
Right.
But the interesting thing is that the teasing has its effect on you, even if you use the off-record marker of just
Right,
kidding
right.
or, well, obviously I don't mean that, it still has the effect. But we have friendships that are filled with teasing, nonstop teasing. And if you ask most people, does that person help you feel good about yourself? Do they augment your esteem? Actually, no, not at all. In fact, I kind of feel a little bit, but sometimes we do it anyway. It's but they kind of keep me in check or they keep me, but I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you have those friendships that are we kind of make fun of each other most of the time?
We make fun of each other a lot of the time. But a lot of times, I'm reading, this is in a slightly different context, but I'm reading a lot of books about comedy right now.
Oh, yeah.
And specifically insult comedy or targeting specific groups of people or individual people on stage. What's the line? How do you cross it? Who gets to cross it when?
Yeah.
And somebody, and I'm not going to remember off the top of my head who it was, characterized it as play fighting, which is, I think, a really, really good analogy because play fighting is fun.
Yeah.
We all do it. It makes perfect sense in that context because when you're on stage and you're making fun of someone, unless you're Dave Chappelle and you have this reputation for being a truth teller that you've cultivated, you're an ordinary comic. You get up on stage and make fun of someone. We know you don't mean it because you're on stage in that context of comedy. The thing about play fighting is every so often somebody does get hurt while play fighting.
Right.
And at that point, if you're play fighting and someone gets hurt, you stop.
Yeah.
And if you are the sort of person who just keeps going, teasing, then you're a bad person and we don't play fight with you anymore.
Right.
Yeah, kind of the
There
same
are
thing with
rules
teasing.
around it.
Yeah, teasing can actually forge connections when you're like teasing each other, and you know that in this context anything goes and anything you say is fair game. But eventually, if it goes too far, like you've got to like stop and pull back.
So why do we do that? Why do we let ourselves be in a relationship with someone that's teasing us over and over again? I mean, yes, if they cross the line, then there's a way of being like, whoa, not cool, you know, but why, what function is that serving in our lives to be like, I'm going to text you knowing that what I get back is kind of going to be a bit rude.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. Like it's at the end of the day, I'm kind of a functionalist in the sense that if something is ubiquitous, it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what the reason is with teasing, but it might just be like in this space, you are free to say and do whatever.
Yeah.
I don't actually know.
So some people talk about teasing as being a replacement for affection.
Yeah.
And people have different levels of comfort of describing affection within a friendship. And that's another one of the qualities, right? Like,
yeah.
I generally, have like warm, fuzzy things to say towards that person, and obviously that affects our esteem and all that. But sometimes that feels funny. Like you're not gonna be like, hey, you're just like the kindest, nicest person. It makes me feel good to be around you. Like some people are like, okay, weird, step back. like this does not feel like something I want to say in the context of a friendship.
Yeah.
So teasing is almost like, I like you enough to be able to say that and to let you say that to me.
Because the reciprocity is important in that sense.
Right?
Yeah. If it's one-sided teasing, that never feels great.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you're like, we like each other enough to be able to say those things and know that it's safe enough to say them, because what we're not saying out loud is, I like you enough to say that.
Yes. Yeah.
So it like takes the place of saying, I like you enough.
Yeah.
Like to be able to say that. And it's funny, like there are some gender differences there too, right? Like, so a lot of affection is not described among female friends a lot, especially like in the adolescent years. Sorry, you do see a lot of the affection among female friends. You don't see it expressed the same way among male friends, right? But female friends will all the time be like, we're taking a selfie, we're posting it, where you're like, I love this friend, I'm here with my bestie. And you just don't see that as often with some other people.
Yeah.
And then the teasing's like maybe the way of,
It is really interesting though, isn't it? I don't know. How do we get on teasing from what was this topic?
So,
effective support?
So that's the idea of esteem support, right?
Esteem support, that's right.
There are some people that like that feeling of nurturance and esteem support. It comes explicitly of saying like, hey, you're great. Like, I think you're one of the best people that I hang out with. Like, you really have a way of making people feel comfortable. But some people will express it through the teasing instead, right?
Yeah.
But the thing you point out, so that's another one. And it's this idea of whether there's a dominance hierarchy or not. This is more probably something you see in adolescence, or even you might see like in dating relationships, like maybe not the dating relationships that are going to last for a long time, but where there's something in the relationship, and this is a bad thing, of course, about relationships where it doesn't feel equal. It feels like one person is clearly the seeker and the other one is the sought.
Yep.
And they get to do things, the sought gets to do things and the other one's just kind of following. And how many relationships have you seen where people just get caught in that?
Yeah.
And
it's
they
frequent.
are like forever in a situation where they are looking up to the other person, especially in a friendship. And you're like, that's not good.
Yeah. It's an interesting tightrope because like you said, there's no rules. It's all about like working out the relationship between two people individually. What's the Montaigne line, right? Parce que j'étais lui, parce que j'étais moi.
Yeah.
That line, because it was him, because it was me. Like there's no other explanation for it. It's like, it's just these two people that have that connection and there's no explanation beyond that. The reciprocity, I think, is such an important component of it, but it doesn't have to be like equal reciprocity. The two people that I would like call out immediately as being like my two best male friends over the course of my life.
Yeah.
I have thought of both of them as, I'm an only child. I have thought of both of them as being my surrogate brothers, but one of them is definitely my older brother.
Oh, really?
And one of them is definitely my younger brother.
What do they
and
do
we have
that makes
that dynamic, right?
Yeah. What are the things they do that make it clear, like you're the older brother for sure?
I'm I'm the more responsible one.
Okay.
Is the way that one goes.
Yeah.
And the relationship where I was the younger brother, we play fought and he beat me up. Like that was what it was. Like it was, and like we both enjoyed that. Like that was the dynamic that we had. Right.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how like in some of your friendships you play one role, in some of your friendships you play another role, and I think the question then becomes across all of your friendships, do you have the balance that you need?
Exactly. Right.
Like there are friends that I am a bit of a mess and kind of looking for like support, and I'm stressed and I need to vent, and like I'm a little bit like more needy.
Yeah.
And then there are others where I am 100% the most stable, rational. I've got it all together, and they are a bit of a mess, and I am there to offer some wisdom and some support. And
that's another interesting thing too, because like you take one relationship in isolation. If you only had that one relationship, you would feel off kilter and unfulfilled. But in your entire life, if you remove that relationship, you would feel less fulfilled, right?
Absolutely.
Because it serves a particular purpose.
Well, and this is the thing that I think is really interesting to think about. Like, we should periodically take an inventory of our friendships. And we should figure out, it should be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And on whole, is there a balance? Because a lot of times you might be like, well, I'm feeling, lonely, or I'm feeling like I don't have enough to do, or I'm feeling bad about this or that. Like tons of people say these things about their lives. But the question is not, I need another relationship, but what kind of relationship do you need? If you're the needy one in all of your relationships, you need someone where you can feel the stable. If you've got all big brothers or big sisters in your life, you need a little younger brother or sister, right? I've had times, and as a psychologist, this is probably not a surprise, where I have a lot of friends where we're going deep immediately. Like, hi, how are you? I have to tell you about the most traumatic and, deeply rooted thing going on in my life. And, that's very comfortable.
Psychology professor, it's the equivalent of being a doctor and having your friends come up to you and say, can you take a look at this thing on my elbow? Right,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but there are times when it's like, I just want to have companionship friends, hangout friends.
Yep.
And it's like, and this is going to not ever go past the small talk, and we're just going to laugh and have like a great funny time. And I don't need to, in that relationship, I don't need to get into what's stressing me out this week or on the news or whatever.
Yep.
But do we have balance in our lives? Do we have a little bit of all those things? Someone we can rely on, someone that we feel nurtured by and with, someone that makes us feel good about ourselves, someone that we help them feel good about themselves. I think that's important to be that for somebody. Someone that we have fun with, someone that we can tell our secrets to, someone that we feel maybe is a little bit more dominant than us, and someone where we're a little more dominant than them. I think if we think about that, now we're talking about how to have a full social life. And too often, I think people have a little too many in one of those categories and a little too few in another.
Okay, so two questions, and we're getting to the end, I think, because this is the money question. Number one, how do you know individually, as you're taking this inventory, how do you know if you're feeling off kilter, if there's something missing or there's too much of something?
I think it's when you leave an interaction and you do that gut check of, how do I feel immediately after the interaction? Did that fill my bucket? Or did that completely empty my bucket? Like, am I exhausted, annoyed, stressed? Am I bitching about that friendship to another friend? Like, and just taking temperature on that. And I don't think you have to feel the same way at the end of every friendship interaction with every different friend. But I do think the balance is, how much do I leave feeling a little bit more energized versus a little bit more stressed and annoyed? And when the balance is off, you start noticing, I'm rarely walking away from these interactions feeling good.
Yeah. And then if there is something that you are missing, what's your first step to filling it?
Oh my God. I mean, remember when you used to actually meet someone in person and strike up a conversation and became a friend? Like, I do wish so much that wasn't gone, or we could somehow reignite that. And we can, right? Like, there's nothing stopping us from that. But, it is pretty easy. People don't walk around with a profile over their heads that tell you already what their interests are and who your mutual friends are. So it is easier, honestly, on social media to be like, I already know 5 things about you.
Yep.
You already responded to my post, so we have a false sense of intimacy. You know things in my life that I reserve for only a few people. people, and somehow you snuck your way in my profile and you know those things about me. So yeah, DMing through social media might be one way of starting to develop those friendships.
I will say I am bad at that, but Brad, my husband, is incredibly good at it.
Yeah.
He has met one during the pandemic and then one a little bit more recently. His two, I think, most recent best friend acquisitions are both people that he met online watching their Twitch stream. One of them was a video game streamer. One of them was a cocktail streamer, and he started talking with both of them. We've been on vacations with both of them to like other countries.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it
By the
can be
way,
done.
Being able to travel with someone is its own whole category. I have to say,
yeah.
I've never seen research on that, but wow, that's a whole set of like behaviors and skills that
Brad and
one day we have to discuss.
Brad and I have a list of, because we'll more often than any other place we go to Vegas. It's a night, go for 2 days, get away. But we've gone with a whole bunch of different couples, and we now have a list of rankings at this point, like of the couples that we know, who are the best ones to go to Vegas with, like 1 through 10. And the couple that's towards the bottom of that list, the one that we would not ever go to Vegas with, is also the couple that we rely on most frequently, and they rely on us most frequently to like take care of things when we're away.
See, so that works out perfectly. You have perfect balance there. Yeah, a friendship that serves one function that actually helps you with a function with another friendship. My wife, Tina, and Brad, I would be very interested to see them interact together because my wife is allergic to social media, and she is the person that will online at the grocery strike up a conversation, and they will go out and get coffee and take a Pilates class together and then suddenly be friends.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, you are the one that can still do that. She's amazing that way.
This has been That Popular Podcast. Find all our episodes on thatpopularpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.